Yeah. You know what? I can't be relied on here. My internet is too spotty.
Okay. Well, according to Zoom, we are now live and on air. So today is February 20th. This is a meeting to check in on ongoing community outreach tasks, or maybe things that aren't tasks, but we want to talk about anyway. And before we get started, we would like everybody who's here to be able to introduce themselves and say either what they're working on, what they want to work on, or why you're interested in this meeting, whether you're just curious about being here, listening, or what. So Tim, why don't we start with you while your internet is still working?
Sure. If I start acting erratically, let me know because it might be my internet. So I suggested that we do this check-in partly because I just have a couple of things that are related to outreach that I'm doing. One of which is I just kind of locked down a venue to start the Twin Cities Backdrop User Group in-person meeting. Just have to pick a day. I have had one or two events in the Twin Cities before, but we're going to try and lock something down monthly. It'd probably start out with 2 or 3 people, but I think we might start seeing some more people show up if we just have a regular meeting place. So
That's
I
great.
know I've got a few people interested. So the other thing, and tell me again or wave at me if what I'm hearing is getting erratic. So I don't know if you're hearing me fine.
It sounds okay to me.
I'm going to stop my video, see if that helps. We talked a while back. You know what? I'm going to pass for now and see if I can. I might even go off and come back and see if I can get a better connection because this isn't working. So
all right,
go ahead.
Let's skip Tim and move on to Gregory.
Are we doing introductions?
Yes, just introductions. Who you are. If you're working on anything for community outreach, you can share that with us, or if there's anything else you want to talk about while you're here.
Okay, so my name is Greg. I'm logging in from Australia, Melbourne. I would like to get more traction here so that I can start doing some community meetings. It doesn't seem to be happening with the Drupal meetings here, so it will have to be a dedicated Backdrop meeting, I guess. I'm waiting for Peter to just come to Australia so there can be more of us. That's it. Passing on to Peter.
All right.
Just here to listen.
Okay. And Jason.
Okay, so I'm just kind of here lurking live to just listen to what's going on and just hang out with you guys. And if there's any reason to jump in the conversation, that I'm just here. But as far as outreach goes, mostly all I'm doing is whispering in people's ears and dropping subtle and sometimes not subtle hints. That's pretty much the extent.
Okay. And Joseph.
I'm also kind of here to just hang out and keep up with what's going on, I guess.
Okay, great. Well, thank you all for coming. When Tim comes back in, we will give him another shot. It sounds like he was having some problems on his end, but as far as I could tell, we could all hear him okay. So hopefully he'll be able to get back in. All right, so on today's agenda for things that we need to do, I think the first and most urgent would be to send the newsletter containing all of the updates that went out in Backdrop 115. Just sort of a hello, happy new year. By the way, all this cool new stuff is here. We have a new newsletter platform, which we've never sent a message from before, so there might be a little learning curve there. But I think we'll be able to send that email to everybody who's on our mailing list, which is exciting. I don't think we've done that before, but we did a bunch of research into our compliance with GDPR. And last year we were being super careful about who we thought we were allowed to send the message to. But now our sign-up form on the website is compliant. We've checked with a couple of legal experts, both here in the US and in the EU, and got confirmation that everybody on our current list is legally allowed to receive an email from us. So that's great. We'll send it to 2,000 plus people instead of 600 plus people or whatever. I don't remember, our last email didn't go out to very many people. So that's exciting. Oh, did I introduce myself? I'm Jen. I'm here because I have a lot of things I want to work on for outreach. Newsletter being on top of my list, which is why I jumped straight into that. But there are also a bunch of upcoming events. Tim mentioned Twin Cities. We've got DrupalCon there this year. We've got our first event that I'm going to be attending in Baltimore in March, our first event where we have a table. So that will be exciting. And yeah, that's what I'm thinking about today. Okay, Tim, you dropped and came back. We can hear you just fine. I don't know, you look fine. I don't know how it is on your end, but go ahead.
Well, right now it seems fine. So I didn't formally introduce myself before, but I'm Tim. I'm in the Twin Cities. I mentioned the meetup. So far, things are working better with my connection. The other thing I just want to bring on the agenda today, maybe quickly, is we did throw out the idea of something, a Twin Cities event related around DrupalCon a few months ago. It was highly dependent on venue, and also it might be getting too late to do that, but I'd at least like to check in on that and just see if we want to, because I have one or two thoughts. So, but let's put that on the agenda and come back to it. Maybe a final thing about today. I haven't had a chance. We did our planning stuff recently, and I haven't had a chance to process that meeting, and I don't know how we want to handle that. So, if there's any follow up to that meeting we had 2 weeks ago.
Okay. All right, so I mentioned newsletter, we need to get that out. Blog posts, so it might be a good time to talk about that too. I think a couple of meetings ago, we talked about doing a year in review blog post when Luke had some time. He's not here today, so I'm gonna guess he probably doesn't have time to keep working on that. But if somebody wanted to highlight all the cool stuff that happened last year, we're sort of running out of time on that. So, I mean, it's end of February. I think if it goes out before the end of March, it's probably still relevant to do a 2019 year in review. But after that, it's probably going to be too late. We're now well enough into 2020. We should be talking about what's going on now. So we'll leave that as a possible. If anyone wants to work on it, that's great. But if not urgent. What we have a draft blog post right now. We have a couple of people who've been offering to write content for Backdrop's blog for a while. Some of those people are members of the community who feel like they maybe can't write modules, but they're pretty good at writing content. Some of those people some people write in and they're obviously like want cross-linking or whatever, and I try and turn those people away pretty quickly. But we have some people who write web content. And so right now we have a draft blog post that's up that is sort of a generic information about having a website blog post that has some specific tie-ins to, if you're running a Backdrop site, this is what might be useful to you. And this guy had a bunch of topics that I thought seemed like they would be valuable to our community. Things on, I think this one's on like website speed and SEO. And so I wanted him to highlight like some of the modules that Backdrop has that can help you with those things, or settings, or features. And so he wrote up a pretty good blog post. It feels rather generic, like it's for the general web. And at the end, there's like a bullet list of like, for your Backdrop site, here are modules you can use, here choose whatever. So we went back to him with some feedback and said, hey, if you could make this seem more intended for Backdrop at the beginning of the article, we think it would be good. But I did want to get like community feedback on general, as if you think these things are good. My intent with this content was to make our blog less tech focused. Like we tend to have a lot of like articles written by developers about like how to run Backdrop with Composer, but less like I'm new, I have a website, features that help me. We also have another draft blog post from a while ago that was like Backdrop hosting. So very general, basic introductory stuff. I thought that was a good idea, but I wanted to get feedback from everybody else. Maybe we feel like Backdrop's audience already knows about tools that make your site faster for SEO, or maybe we already know about like hosting providers, and that isn't necessarily valuable information for our community. So I don't know, maybe I'll give you guys a chance to weigh in on that. Greg, I know you had a chance to review that article, so let's start with you.
Yeah, so when I read it, it sounded a bit generic. So Backdrop was not mentioned enough, at least at the beginning of the article. So that was my first objection, slight objection. But then I understand that this is how sort of like marketing works these days, as you start with something generic and then at the end you might sort of like get to where you're going. So if others agree with that's what's the trend right now, I'm happy. Like, I don't have any strong feelings. It's just that I thought that at least Backdrop should be mentioned either at the beginning of the article or at least in the title, if we are talking about something generic.
Yeah, and he agreed to make both those changes. But big picture, do you think it's good for us to continue to pursue content like this that reaches a more introductory audience to web development?
Yeah, so there's two types of people that receive new letters. There's the guys that get annoyed and then unsubscribe, and we don't want that to happen. And then the other guys that do not get annoyed, because if they see something with a title that doesn't concern them, they just discard the email and that's it. So again, I don't have any hard feelings or opinions on it. I think we should keep it up because it will show that there's activity in the community.
Okay, so just to be clear, I was thinking that these more introductory posts would not make it into the newsletter or the like box on the home, like in your, well, what's it, the dashboard news block. This would be just website content. So people
Okay.
come to our website and they're reading our blog, trying to find information there about basic Backdrop website development. Does
Okay.
that seem less of a
Okay, I wasn't
priority?
aware of that. I thought that there was some RSS feed or something that people would be subscribed to. But yeah, that sounds equally fine to me.
I mean, that all sounds good. I think that with anything like this, though, we always ought to be asked who we're trying to reach and sort of why. What's the purpose? This is not critical of that content. I mean, I'm interested in reaching this audience, but I think we need to formalize sort of like why we're interested in what we're hoping to accomplish. I mean, I definitely think there has to be some sort of a Backdrop tie-in. It doesn't have to be too strong, I don't think. And it sounds to me like we're on the right track with this post. So.
Okay, good.
No,
And this
no
is the
objection.
first one. He's taking feedback really well. So I think if, going forward, when he writes the second one, it'll incorporate the things we're working on. So I think it's good to try it. We can also get a feed from like our community, how they feel about the post being on there. And if people object, we could stop doing them. But I figure as long as we have people in our community who are offering the right content for us, we should give it a shot. Also because I feel like it makes them feel valued, right? Where it's like, you don't have to write code, you can write blog posts for us, and people who know how to do this for their job or whatever might find a good place to fit in a way that like we're not writing content for the blog, someone needs to do it. It seems valuable.
The reason why I said the things that I said before is because I read a couple of articles which were well written, and they were posted on sites of digital agencies, and what they served as is that they had like 3/4 of the article being something generic, and then at the end it would be sort of like a shameless plug, as in we do all the above sort of thing. So in my head, as I said, I'm not objecting, but this sounds sort of like a marketing technique, sort of like get people in, offer them something useful. It's not spam, right? So they read something useful, but at the end it's sort of like they plug themselves in, which would be good for Backdrop as well. So yeah, this is how SEO works. This is what needs to be done. But hey, Backdrop does most of these things out of the box. So, or there's modules that you can use So yeah.
Okay, good. Eric, do you have any thoughts on this?
No, nothing that hasn't been said by other people. So
Okay. Jason, Joseph, and Peter, I know you guys all said you were lurking, so I'm not going to call on you by name. Eric, we did introductions at the beginning of this meeting that I think you might not have been here for yet, where just said who we are, why we're here, and what we're interested in either working on or currently working on. If you want to give an update, and you're definitely welcome to say, I'm just here to listen, as several other people did, and then I won't call on you by name as we have other issues that come up we're going to talk about.
yeah, my name's Eric. I'm interested in getting involved in Backdrop community, and so I'm kind of just here lurking and seeing what's going on.
Okay.
So I'll shout if I've got an opinion on something.
Great, thank you.
Welcome, Eric.
All right.
Thanks.
So we also have, I think there's going to be a bunch of PMC activity in the near future. We've got a fairly active issue queue right now, which I think is coming a little bit from all of this work we're doing on our initiatives, our plans for 2020, all of this stuff has sort of incited some stuff. So I'm imagining not this week, probably not next week, but maybe after that, we're going to start to see some more blog content coming out of that. So that is exciting. I just wanted to call that out so that if we have stuff we want to get out now so that we have a nice, like, not everything comes all at once, that might be a good way to do that. All right, I put event planning on here. I moved it up in the order, Tim, so we could make sure we could talk about DrupalCon. So do you want to talk about that?
Sure. So quickly, I just threw out the idea that because you have feet on the ground in the Twin Cities, that there might be an opportunity to do an event around DrupalCon, not officially a part of, like in the days preceding or right after, that where folks, we could market it, and people who were in the Twin Cities for DrupalCon but were interested in Backdrop could make arrangements to participate. We didn't talk too seriously about this. I think the big thing is venue, and I was hoping to find time to like just check into some options. And I haven't had much time for that. I do have one option, but it's not ideal in some ways. But I thought I'd at least throw it out there, and we could talk about if we want to pursue this more. Or, I mean, I think we're right on the edge of getting too late, right? Where people are making plans. And, it might be too late to try and plan something. But, the venue that I work 1 or 2 days a week out of a co-working facility that's partially run by a client of mine, and they are not downtown Minneapolis, but they're on the right off the light rail line, about 15 minutes out of downtown. So very easy to get to. It's a co-working space that we could get pretty reasonably priced access to on a weekend. In the evening, which I don't think is that helpful, or we could get a smaller, like a room, but the room would only fit like 15 people during the week. So this is just something that I have pretty convenient access to. I could look further for like something downtown. I'm just swamped, and I'm not, I don't know what I'm going to find or how long it's going to take. So actually, I'll share a link to the venue. Like, if like the Sunday before or the Saturday after DrupalCon were realistic, we could get this venue, which is it's like a relatively small co-working space, but you could fit 30 or 40 people in it and sort of break into some smaller groups. And there's also there's a couple of kind of like small breakout spaces that are fairly small. And it's right next to a tap room and a restaurant, and it's kind of a nice place right on a light rail line. So, but we couldn't use that on a like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
So is the idea to have the event going on either right before DrupalCon or right after? Is that it?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And who is attending DrupalCon from the usual gang, the people that I know at least? I guess Team you are, and then Jen?
I will be at DrupalCon. I will not be attending DrupalCon. I will be in the city, but the tickets are too expensive and my talk wasn't selected, so I won't actually be at that event. I have a wedding the weekend before So I'm not going to be able to do the Sunday before DrupalCon or even the Monday. That's my travel day. Friday of DrupalCon is a sprint day, and we might consider that as an option as well as Saturday. I don't know if that works for your venue, Tim, if it needs to be on a weekend. But in terms of like audience overlap, I think that most of the people that would be attending a backdrop event are probably not attending the Drupal code sprint. So that might be another thought too. And if people are like looking for an entire week off work, I mean, they might use Friday as a travel day. I don't know, but it's an option. Another thing I was thinking, because it is getting close to DrupalCon, people are starting to buy their tickets. Trying to get that date range changed could be hard. I think as a plan B, we should just plan on meeting somewhere one night just to like sit down and celebrate Backdrop without any maybe content or agenda or whatever. We could just be like, let's get together and say, woohoo, Backdrop. That's kind of it. And that would take the burden off of us, you in particular, Tim, in organizing a completely different event, but trying to find a venue, all the other stuff. I know there's a lot of stuff going on with DrupalCon itself, and that makes it harder for you.
You know, one option would be to just do, like, if we set our site specs slightly, there is a meeting room in this space that is not bad, and we could also go upstairs. We just wouldn't have control of upstairs. There's a meeting room downstairs which would fit about 15 people, and we could do like a training on, say, Tuesday, like, you know, during the summits, or Friday, and, you know, set the expectations low, but it would be an opportunity to tap into some people that are there at DrupalCon and offer an offsite training, and there would be very little planning involved. And
I think that sounds great.
Okay. So that could be like the minimum thing. And then if we could still, well, we'd have to do it pretty quickly, but there's still an option to do something more. But at the very minimum, to at least lock down this room and just do a one-day training. Or even just some meetings, like if for those of us who are in town, if we just wanted to spend the day meeting, you know, we'd have that space too.
We could do like a bar camp where whoever shows up in the room will help us determine content, and that wouldn't require any advanced planning other than a place.
Yep.
I like both these ideas. I like the training idea. I like the camp idea. I don't care what day it's on. Tuesday and Friday both work.
I mean, the thing about sort of bar camp or anything like that is this meeting room is really only 15 to 20 people and not like breakout space. It's like 15 to 20 people in one group. If the weekend, we could do bar camp.
We could also set up a quick like web form registration thing too. Yeah. And if we get more than 15 people, we can cap it. So that's also something to think about.
The reason why I asked is because I'm traveling to Greece for Easter. So I was thinking, and I was planning to stay until May, like mid-May. So I was thinking instead of going Greece and then back to Melbourne, maybe I could do Greece, Minneapolis, and then Melbourne. But I sort of like want to book the tickets. And the other thing is, as you said, Jen, the DrupalCon tickets are expensive. It's like almost $900 US.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure I'm going to register for DrupalCon, okay. But I'll be here.
Okay, that was my point. That if I was there, then I could help out with whatever backdrop events we're doing, and I get to see you guys in person. We would need to figure out accommodation. Then I would need your help. You team being local or anything, but I might be able to just work it out with Airbnb on my own. It's just, yeah. But as I said, it's just a thought. I'll see if I can justify financially or tax-wise those expenses as part of my profession. And if I can do that, then maybe it's a more likely possibility to happen. So
that would be great.
Yeah, and maybe then, Jen, you can finally give me my hoodie.
Yes.
I never received it. I think that someone stole it in the customs or something. They liked it so much, or the post office. I don't know. I can't explain it.
Well, let's put a hold on. I'll try and get a hold on the room for maybe Tuesday and Friday, just for now, and we can figure that out. So at the minimum, this meeting room, and yeah, if people still have thoughts on doing anything more than that, let me know, but we're running out of time. So.
Okay.
Great. I think that sounds fantastic. All right. Next on the list, social media things, anything super exciting going on in the world right now we should be tweeting about, posting about, meowing about. You guys can hear that. My cat is going crazy, sorry. Okay, let's see.
Or-
Website.
Can
Sorry,
I just
go
say,
ahead.
or any feedback on the existing tweets? I in spurts schedule some just random tweets pointing to different content on the site.
I
Anybody
like
has any
this.
feedback, let them know.
Okay, website updates. We have some CSS changes that are going to improve the showcase page. They were committed directly to the backdropcms.org site, so they need to be merged upstream into the Borg theme. I have a to-do on my list to do that, but once that gets in, we can update the Borg theme on all sites, which I think was necessary anyway for some reason. I don't know, that might not even be related. Maybe we've already deployed those, but there anyway, more changes coming soon. Meetups, Tim, I know you have a virtual user group coming up soon.
So actually, we have nothing scheduled, so we should get something on the schedule. I know you
Okay.
you wanted to do one on upgrading the Drupal 7 sites, and I see you have that scheduled in San Francisco, Doug. So probably that would around then would be a good time to do it again, huh?
Okay, so I have a website that I want to do that on, and so I think doing it like I'm gonna try and have everything ready, but I want to kind of like upgrade live, and it has a theme and layouts and all of that kind of stuff. So I think I can kind of go through all of the different things, which will be fun, and it's fairly straightforward. I also am going to do some content for Pantheon that's using that same site that's going to be like upgrading from Drupal 7 to Backdrop on Pantheon. So I'll talk about like switching upstreams and stuff. So I'm definitely going to need some feedback on how much of that you want in the virtual user group meetup. But yeah, I think it's time to start guiding people through that upgrade process so they can see what it might be like. Backdrop.
So should we schedule a virtual user group like shortly after your thing in San Francisco so you can learn from that, or would it be better to do it before?
Let's do it the other way around.
Do it before?
Yeah, I'd feel more confident getting feedback from the Backdrop community before I take it to the larger community than getting feedback from them on what to do here. But yeah, since I don't have to sell you guys on it.
Let me try and get that scheduled today on the agenda.
Do you want to do it now?
Sure. Let's pick. We could pick a day right now. Like, what day is the San Francisco, Doug?
It is March 12th.
Okay, it's coming up a little quicker than I thought, but that's not too quick. We normally do the virtual Doug on Tuesdays. So, would you want to do it that same week or the week before, the 3rd or the 10th?
I think my preference would be for the 3rd.
Okay. Well, I think we should go with your preference. And actually, that's technically we've tried to do it the first Tuesday of the month, which is what that is, but we haven't always hit that date.
Okay.
So let's go with that date, March 3rd. I'm going to throw in, I don't know. I hate, this is just more work, but I'm wondering if we shouldn't have like a monthly, upgrade office hours, like just on the schedule that is like, come and ask your upgrade questions.
Yeah, I think that would be great.
It would be great, but do we have the resources to do it? Meaning the time and people.
Well, so we already have this like office hours thing.
Well,
Yeah. So Jeff was doing that a couple of years ago. I'm not sure if he's doing it still. And the reason wasn't because he wasn't available. I think it was people were not showing up. I did show up a couple of times that he helped me with some things, but yeah.
So I think on our resources page, I think it's still listed. I know I'm still down, I think, office hours, Wednesdays from 1 to 4. So I was doing Wednesday. That doesn't have my name on there. But we could do something where we specifically highlight upgrade questions.
Well, I don't think we would need to if we have that. So I have heard that that existed at one point, and I think a few weeks or months ago, I heard some talk about reviving it, but we have done nothing to promote it. So of course,
Yeah.
nobody's going to come if we're not telling them. And just having it on the website is not enough. I could be tweeting about that, but I've never
Yeah.
ever tweeted
Okay.
about that.
Okay. Let me 1 to 4. Let me put. I'm going to put an event on my calendar so that I never get any meetings, theoretically.
Well,
Is that-
we could create kind of a schedule so that it doesn't always have to be you, but
Yeah.
but we
Yeah.
should have somebody there every week. And is that every week or every month? Or
Yeah.
what?
Every week.
Okay. I think that would be a good idea, and I would be willing to, at least dedicate some weeks, not necessarily every week, to being there. Although I might not be the best person for the upgrade questions, but we could promote it that as a place. It doesn't have to be exclusively upgrade stuff, but we could promote it as a place where you could get upgrade help. So if you have questions, bring them to that office hour.
Okay. And we haven't ever done anything like it was a in Gitter thing too. Tim, I really liked your video on option too. So that might be something where we could turn on. So that's like, okay, you have questions, you can come in Gitter, but you can also see each other face to face and have a more in-depth conversation, screen share or whatever's needed. So maybe we can use the Zoom for that.
Yeah, we could. I would like that idea as well.
Okay.
And the idea that there should be more than one person so that if something happens, something comes up, yeah, someone.
Okay, so I've added that to the backdrop events Google Calendar. So, and there's a link to whatever. I'm not sure if anyone else is following that calendar or not, but I find it really useful. Tim, I also put the virtual user group on there. And so that'll bother me every Wednesday at that time. I also look at my weekly schedule often when I'm planning weird things. And if I'm going to be out of town for any reason, we could get somebody else to do that particular meeting. So I don't know if we need to have a schedule posted anywhere of like who's working which weeks or what have you. But yeah, or if we could just get somebody else to be like, oh, I'll be around generally in that time. Then we could talk about one week if the next week wasn't going to happen. And then if we know there isn't going to be anyone, we can take it off the calendar.
What time is this at?
1 to 4 p.m. Pacific, which is kind of late East Coast time.
That probably works well for me. I have something like at noon Central Time every Wednesday, so I could be available for at least portions of that.
Okay. All right.
Jen, your thing about not scheduling, that's all fine as long as we're able to reliably do this and as long as you're able to reach out when you need help and not
Yeah.
sort of let it fall through at the last minute and not be reliable. So we can go ahead and try that, but I think if we're finding that it's difficult to sustain, we should
So
try to fix it.
usually what happens when I was thinking about it before is I have Gitter open all the time. Now I'll have Zulip open too. I figured out how to do that. And the meeting thing is the video thing is the thing that I wouldn't normally think to do. And then I just, if somebody pings me, I'll answer is sort of how it had been. But having a more official thing, I think, is something that's better for promoting where it's like, you can just be like, hey, I have a question. It doesn't have to be so like at Jen Lampton, answer my question. And I think that also could be a little more comfortable for people, just have like a space for that to happen in.
Well, I mean, I don't think people are going to use it unless we promote it, and I could probably help promote it, but I want to know that I'm not promoting, if I promote it, that somebody will be there.
Let's try it for a few weeks.
Good.
So starting next Wednesday, which is the 1st, it's on my calendar. And then the 8th is WebCon in Illinois. So I won't be around, but if somebody else wanted to do the 8th, that would be good. And then the 15th I can do the whole rest of the month.
I'll put the 8th on my agenda, and we can also just ping each other in chat.
Okay. Or we can ping Jeff or anyone else who might also be interested in being around. But yeah, I think we should try it for serious for a month and see See how it goes. All right. I think that's it for the agenda. The only other thing I had on here is videos, question mark. So if anyone's working on anything cool and wants to post videos of backdrop, I think that's awesome. Oh, and then Tim, you wanted to follow up on last outreach meetings agenda. Let's see, that would have been the third.
Well, what I had suggested, well, it's more of a question like, what are our next steps from the planning we did? And I personally have been so frazzled that it's like, I don't even remember what we talked about 2 weeks ago. So at some point we should just kind of review our notes for the ideas that came up and figure out what the next, I don't want that to just all disappear, right? We threw out a lot of good ideas and without we haven't had any follow-up on that yet. So.
Yeah, so part of that, I didn't specifically mention this, is with these blog posts targeting a different audience, what came out of that meeting. But I don't know, I feel like, I don't know what to do with all of this amazing information in that agenda. Or wherever we took notes, I guess it was in the agenda. Should that go into a blog post or a documentation page?
Let me recommend this, which is that I will try to summarize that into a blog post.
Okay.
Which has the counter purpose of getting me to think about what, if any, next steps there would be.
Okay.
In processing the blog post, it'll force me to think.
That would be fantastic. All right. That's all I had for today. Anyone want to mention anything else? Eric, go ahead.
Yeah, just to throw this out there that I'd like to talk about this at the next one of these meetings. Jen, when we met back in November, I said something about organizing an event in New York. And I have a venue that is willing to give us free space for an event. I kind of dropped the ball on it. We were talking about doing it in March, but I didn't get them any write-up about what we were talking about, so I lost those dates. But so I'd like to think about May or June, doing some sort of small event in New York. We have a really nice, very modern facility to use, and probably, I just would like some help figuring out what the scope of that event should be, and how to do that write-up so that it would be a good event for the community. And I'm a little lost at this point. So next time, if we can talk about that a bit, I'd appreciate it.
Sure, that sounds great. I'll put it on the agenda.
Just real quickly, you're talking about a completely independent, just backdrop, day-long event?
Yep.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, just like a one-day small unconference camp kind of thing.
Oh, perfect. Can I come?
Please.
Jack, you just joined. Do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, sorry, I was totally lurking on YouTube, and then I heard Tim's question about follow-up and the conversation around that, and I couldn't resist. So yeah, I think, doing a blog post to share what we discussed could certainly be good. It could certainly kind of get the word out to folks about what we're doing and let folks know, in these other audiences, we do care about you, stuff like that. And I like your idea of using it as an opportunity to think through what next steps could be. I also was thinking another approach could be either through that blog post or probably through that blog post, if that could serve as a summary for us, or if we can otherwise summarize, boil down, okay, who were the audiences we want to reach, what were the goals we have for the audiences, and what were the ideas we had towards reaching those goals. It's not the blog post, it's not the same. I realize it's kind of different, but taking the notes, distilling them into something like that, okay, here's what we came up with, and then kind of comparing them to what we do on our meeting agendas now, saying, okay, so in an outreach meeting, we talk about what we want to do with the blog, what we do with the newsletter, the different tools, and saying, all right, we want to reach these folks. these are the things we talk about at our meetings. Like, how do we reach these folks and meet these goals? Like, through the stuff we're talking about, or maybe through stuff that we haven't talked about yet that's not on the usual agenda. So that's how I'd suggest approaching it. And for that, I think a first step would be doing that summary, like boiling it down. I think it is separate from the blog post. It could be, Tim, if you wanted to do both, like it could be done at the same time, but it could also be done separately to not like, overwhelm you with work.
No, I was actually thinking that the blog post would be like a summary of what we talked about. It would be a report back. We had this meeting and this is what happened. This is what we talked about. So, and my primary motivation was just to do the summary, and like making a blog post out of it was an excuse. So.
I like the idea of linking to the raw notes that we made during the thing from a blog post, or I don't know, an issue or whatever, so that people can find it. And then I think that in my head, at least, I've never done this before. It would be the same process as we like for the UX study videos. Like you would watch the video and then try to break down things, actionable items. So this is already in written form. So we need to go through each item that we made a note for and then see what we should action for each one of these. And then, yeah, having a way where the community can find the raw notes would be great, because they will have ideas. Crowdsourcing for the world.
So yeah, I'd say once we have the summary, whether it's like the blog post or like something more distilled coming out of that, like bringing it back to one of these meetings, and at the beginning of the meeting, kind of reviewing it, like recapping, all right, like here's where we said we wanted to be, wanted to go, wanted to reach, and then like kind of applying it during that meeting and having it as something to go back to for future meetings. Like when we're like, okay, what do we need to be doing with outreach? We could always go back to the document and say like, oh, well, this is a goal, you know, we said we wanted to work towards, we haven't, have we done that? Like, let's find stuff there. So it could be a way to structure our work going forward, guide, like prioritize things, you know.
I agree. Good idea.
Yep, makes sense.
Anyone have anything else they want to add?
So I just randomly went to the through the contractors sort of like section of our site, and I tried to locate people that are in Australia, just trying to figure out if I can sort of like reach out to them. So maybe that would be an idea that each one of us can do individually at the place that they're from. I know that we don't filter down to specific states, so that might be an issue. But at least if you're watching this from another country, maybe you can, that's a way to sort of like find professionals that have expressed interest in working with Backdrop. So
we've had discussions in the past about helping people connect with people locally and doing a better job of that. And I think that's definitely something we should talk more about. I don't have a quick solution to propose right now, but it's something I think about a lot. And
did we have a forum category specifically for that?
So I recall the last time this subject came up, we talked about how to use the form better and whether or not, I mean, what do we have right now? I mean, there is I think we could do something better with the form than what we have now, but I don't know what. I have to think about it. I'm going to the form right now. Right now, we have a meetups and events section, which doesn't get much use. And I think giving people, at the very minimum, we should give people guidance on how to use that section to connect with people locally, like encourage folks to say, you know, the really simplest solution I can think of is to just say, hey, everybody, if you're interested in connecting with people locally, go create a post in the forum saying that in this section. I don't know if that would work, but there might be more we could do beyond that.
So it's my impression that back to the website, people that are registering with their accounts, they might be more private when it comes to their location as individuals. But I see that most of the contractors state their location, I guess, because they expect to be found. And that's why I mentioned it before. I know that Webform has some list of states, and maybe for different countries. Like I noticed the other day when I was filtering like things, I think it's either that or the address module. So maybe we can have the country there and also make an optional states for each country that has states. That would be sort of like a way for people to filter down the specific area, because as it is now, people looking for contractors, they can just basically choose United States.
Yeah, I mean, so we have that data on people. We would just need to expose it in the view, which I think is non-trivial. But I think this is only people though that have checked the checkbox, like I'm available for hire. And those aren't necessarily the people you want to connect with in your area. Like there might be people who work for agencies who aren't available for hire, who you still want to talk to. And I think that we might need a different way to find those people.
Yeah, I agree.
So maybe just like something that searches every public profile by location might be better.
I've noticed that most of the meetups here in Australia, at least there's digital agencies, most of the people, it's like the people that work for digital agencies, they try to connect them, and it's not so much site owners or potential site owners, it's just the people that work on Drupal. That's where I'm coming from. But if your experience is that the Drupal meetups in your area are usually people that are in the community, regardless of being like professional contractors, yeah, yes. When we register, I'm gonna check my own account. We don't ask a specific, like if you state that you're from the US, it doesn't allow you to select a state, right, or an area or something.
So it looks like this is address field module, and it currently provides like a text box for state province. It doesn't give you
Okay.
the select list based on country. I think I have seen that on Drupal sites, but it might be like an additional add-on or something. So we can look at that.
Yeah. The other way that you suggested, Tim, was it sort of like to create a forum topic, a sort of like a parent topic which says local meetups, and then break it down to countries, and then have people like have subtopics under it, and then have people which country. Sorry, I have to go. There's a call for me.
Okay,
Sorry.
we'll talk about this later. I think this is an important topic, and it's like something we should put on the agenda to talk about another time. We're on another time today.
Okay. Anything else? I'll put it on the agenda for next week to try and figure out how to connect each other. But anything else for today? No? Okay, let's go ahead and wrap up this meeting, and we will kick off our developer meeting in 6 minutes or so. But thanks guys for all coming in, sharing your opinion and joining us for today.